In Java, sometimes less power actually means more control. Sounds kind of weird, right? Well, today we're diving into the final keyword, and you're going to see exactly what I mean. It's all about how giving up a little bit of flexibility can make your code way more robust. Let's get into it.
So let me just ask you this. In programming, is more flexibility always a good thing? I mean, we love features like inheritance, don't we? They let us reuse code, adapt it, build on top of it. But what's the downside? What happens when all that freedom starts to create chaos?
And yeah, that's really the heart of the problem. Method overriding is super powerful. It's a huge part of object-oriented programming. But think about it. If a subclass accidentally messes with some really critical logic, you could end up with these subtle nightmare bugs that are a total pain to track down. That's exactly where Final steps in to save the day. All right, so let's jump into the first big idea, locking down a method's behavior. This is our way of saying, hey, this specific piece of code, it does this one thing, and I want to guarantee it never changes, no matter what. So what is a final method? Well, it's pretty much what it says on the tin. The moment you declare a method as final, its implementation is, well, it's set in stone. It's locked in. Any subclass that comes along later is stuck with that exact behavior. No exceptions, no overrides, no new versions allowed. And listen, this isn't just a friendly suggestion. Oh no, this is a hard and fast rule, and the Java compiler is like the bouncer at the door. If you have a final method in, say, class A, and then class B tries to waltz in and overwrite it, nope, your code just won't compile. The compiler stops you dead in your tracks, which is great because it prevents a potential bug before it's even born. Okay, so why would you even want to do this? It all comes down to building code that's stable and secure. Think about it. Imagine you have a method that handles a critical security check, like validating a user's permissions. You absolutely, under no circumstances, want a subclass to be able to bypass that. Slapping final on that method is your guarantee. It makes it impossible to mess with and sends a crystal clear message to other developers. This logic is essential. Don't touch. Okay, so locking down one method is powerful, but what if that's not enough? What if you need to lock down the entire class and just say, nope, no one can inherit from this, period? That's where the final class comes into play. When you mark a whole class as final, you're putting up a giant do not extend sign. It completely shuts down inheritance for that class. It becomes a dead end in the hierarchy, a final word in your design. No subclasses, ever. And just like we saw with methods, the compiler has your back. It's the enforcer. So if you have a class called token that's marked final, and someone comes along and tries to create myTokenExtends bam, compile error. The whole thing is stopped before your program even gets a chance to run. This is where you really see the strategic side of using final. I mean, the most famous example in all of Java is the string class. It's immutable, right? Its value can't be changed after it's created. And a huge reason that guarantee holds is because the string class is final. Nobody can extend it and mess with its behavior. It's also perfect for simple value-based objects, or frankly, any class that you just didn't design with inheritance in mind. And this gets to a much bigger idea. Using final isn't just a little syntax trick, it's a design philosophy. It's you, the developer, making a very deliberate statement about your intentions for the code. You know, there's this fantastic guideline from the book Effective Java that just nails it. It basically says, design and document for inheritance, or else prohibit it. Think about that. You either go all in, carefully design your class so it can be safely extended, or you just shut the door completely with final. There's no in between. And this is smart because it stops people from creating these fragile subclasses that shatter the moment you change something in the base class. Okay, let's make this real with a quick case study. Imagine you're building a banking application. You have an account class, and here's the #1 rule. Every single transaction must be audited, no exceptions. So what do? You create a method called, say, post-transaction, and you lock it down. You make it final. That way, other classes like checking account or savings account can have their own unique logic for applying the transaction, but they can't touch the core process. They can never, ever skip that crucial audit step. What we've just described is actually a classic design pattern called the template method. It's a really clever idea. The final method acts like a template. It lays out the fixed steps of an algorithm, like step 1, audit, step 2, apply. The subclasses get to fill in the details for step 2, but the overall sequence, That's locked in. It's guaranteed. All right, but Java is always evolving, right? It doesn't just stand still. And while final is still just as important today, newer versions of the language have given us some more nuanced tools to control inheritance. And that brings us to sealed classes, which showed up in Java 17. Here's the best way to think about the difference. A final class is a total lockdown. The door is barred, no one gets in, no subclasses allowed. A sealed class is more like a nightclub with a bouncer and a very specific guest list. The bouncer says, you can come in, but only if your name is on this list. It lets you create this perfectly controlled, closed-off family of classes. So, for example, you could have a sealed class called shape, and you can say it permits circle and rectangle to extend it. And that's it. Nobody else. This is awesome because it stops some random developer from coming along and trying to add a dodecahedron subclass that your code has no idea how to handle. It's this perfect middle ground between total lockdown and a total free-for-all. Okay, let's boil this all down to a quick checklist. A final method means you cannot override it. A final class means you cannot subclass it. Simple as that. And remember, the real reason to use final is all about correctness and good API design, not some old myth about performance. And if you need that middle ground, check out sealed classes. And don't worry, all these rules are rock solid and still apply in modern Java. So I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time you sit down to write a new class in Java, stop and ask yourself one simple question. Is this class really designed for inheritance? And if the answer is anything other than a confident yes, then maybe, just maybe, making it final is the smartest, safest, and clearest decision you can make.